Thank you all for being here today. I think we can all agree that we're here because we want to make sure that our veterans are getting access to the best care that we can give them in a timely fashion. And, one of the issues that our veteran faces when they go into the VA is that there may not be services in that brick and mortar that can support whatever type of care that they need. And so we use non-VA care, and we use outside providers to treat our veterans. And so we're having this discussion about the medical record. How is the VA going to handle this when we're utilizing outside providers? This has been a huge issue in Vision 7 in Central Alabama VA Health System, where we're not only do we not have the sufficient personnel to handle the care of the veteran within the brick and mortar of the VA, but we're also having a hard time recruiting outside providers to be willing to, they want to serve the veteran, they want to provide medical care for the veteran, but the VA constantly makes it difficult for the provider, and part of that is the medical record. And so I want to know how that fits in to this whole equation, and how are you going to make it easier through this whole process with data sharing for the outside providers to be able to integrate into this whole process?
So I'd like to take a stab at a couple of your questions, ma'am, if that's okay, and maybe ask John again to either correct me or add some context to it. You're exactly right about community care. I want to just promote to you also that we have a very robust telemedicine program as well. Over 100 patient treatments last year, 17% increase from the previous year. And so that is another one of our force multipliers to provide care to our veterans if we don't have a particular specialist doctor within a brick and mortar facility. But you had talked about the interoperability with community care, is what I understood from the second part of your question. That is the sort of the beauty of Cerner. It's a commercially proven tool in the private sector. And so many of the providers that we will be sending our veterans out to have that tool or tools that are compatible with the Cerner platform. And so right now, there is a challenge, and I think I would agree with you on that, a challenge with Vista connecting to our community care providers. This is, I believe, one of the solutions for that. And I think you had mentioned something about hiring, getting our specialists in the brick and mortar facilities. I want to thank this committee and other committees here for the Mission Act recently, which provided us some legislation to allow us to provide 3 R's. I'm going to butcher what they are: retention, relocation, and I forget what the third one is. But it allows us to bring on healthcare providers because we're competing in the marketplace. And so I don't know if that, I thought I heard that in your question, your concern about having specialists in various hospitals.
Well, it's a reality. I mean, it's a reality.
Right.
So
Right.
Particularly in mental health, and
Exactly.
that is a real thing. And so when we, have a veteran, a patient, whether it's cancer treatments or whatever, and we're sending them out into the community, and there's this huge problem with the ability for those outside providers to communicate as it relates to the medical record itself. So I did address a lot of problems in my statement and my question that are maybe outside the realm of this hearing, but it all plays together ultimately at the end of the day as to whether or not our veteran is getting timely care. And I'm just telling you, there's a huge frustration from outside providers that want to be community partners, but this medical record issue is a huge roadblock to their ability to provide outside care. And, I'm familiarizing myself with the comments of my colleagues talking about the implementation over a certain amount of time, and they're just, the frustration here is that there doesn't seem to be an urgency. And I understand these things take time, but meanwhile, we have veterans that are suffering and not getting the care that they need. And so that is why I bring up this outside provider medical record issue, because it's part of this whole thing. And if we're pushing our veterans to more community care because we don't have the services available within the brick and mortar of the VA, then somebody's got to feel some urgency as it relates to getting this done for outside care. So that's my concern. If you want to address it in any way, I've got 3 seconds.
No, and so I'm going to agree with everything you're saying, and the implementation of EHRM and the implementation of the Mission Act are designed specifically for the concerns that you have. And I assure you there's a sense of urgency within the VA to implement all those. I'd like to correct something I said too. Evidently I said we did 100 telehealth visits. It's 1 million, so I don't remember saying 100, but somebody handed me a note that said I said 100. But you're exactly right, ma'am. There is a sense of urgency. It's the top priority of the leadership to implement the Mission Act and EHRM and several other parallel initiatives to allow better care for our veterans.
Thank you, Ms. Roby. Mr. Cartwright?